We have a busy chapel this morning, but we'll get it started off with a public speaking student, Cullen Baker. Please welcome Cullen.
All right. Well, I wasn't expecting to be first on the agenda, but that's okay. So my name's Cullen Baker, and before I start my speech, I'd just like to say that Mr. Burrows kind of stole my thunder last week a little bit, so some of this might sound a little bit repetitive, but hopefully not too bad. All right. I was born here in St. Johnsbury, and I've lived here all 18 years of my life. I know there are some people out there who are probably thinking how terrible this must be for me. I've heard multiple students, both dorm and day, bashing St. J and how there's nothing to do and nowhere to go. I've actually joined in on many conversations like this, agreeing with what is usually said about this town. It's true that there isn't really anything fun to do here, and there are only 8,000 people? However, while these things are true and give St. J a pretty bad rep, I've realized a lot about this town and this community over the past couple of weeks. When I was in elementary school, around 2nd and 3rd grade, I would spend hours designing my dream life. I would take a piece of paper and write down the name of the boy I would surely end up married to, how many pets and children we would have and what their names would be, what we would do for work, what our house would look like, and most importantly, where we would live. Most of these answers to these questions changed as time went by. For example, I no longer see myself marrying Shane LaCroix. No offense, Shane. I know you're going to make some woman very happy someday. And I definitely know that I'm not going to have 17 children. Why I ever thought that was a good idea is beyond me. And I also know that I probably won't have a giant roller coaster in my backyard and 3 indoor pools and a swirly slide instead of a staircase in my home. So while all of these things changed, up until 2 weeks ago, one thing always remained the same. I knew that I wanted to live in a place that was the exact opposite of where I had grown up. I wanted to live in a big city somewhere where there was always something to do and a huge population of people. I wanted to live in a place that was nothing like St. Johnsbury in any way. And I realize now that I was wrong in so many ways for wanting that all these years. This community suffered a devastating loss 2 weeks ago. And for the sake of everyone, I won't go into details about how difficult Miss Jenkins' death was on the academy community and the whole town of St. Johnsbury. But what I will go into detail about is how I suddenly fell in love with this town and this community. Monday night, after hearing about Miss Jenkins' death, I went to Fuller Hall with a few of my friends. I can honestly say that what I saw when I walked in that night was breathtaking. There were so many students and teachers. Everyone was on stage making posters for Miss Jenkins that would be hung up in the gym, and people were offering endless support to each other. I saw people receiving hugs and comfort from total strangers, and everyone seemed to be unified by this one terrible event. The sense of community and family that I felt when I entered Fuller Hall on Monday night gave me chills, and it's something that I will never forget. And not only did the academy community do an amazing job of coming together and supporting each other after this tragedy, but the entire town of St. Johnsbury did as well. I was sitting in my living room on Thursday night 2 weeks ago, and outside my window, I saw people at the park across the street doing something that looked like they were teepeeing the trees, covering them with toilet paper. I was confused at first, not realizing exactly what was going on. But when I got a closer look, I realized that they weren't teepeeing the trees. They were putting up pink ribbons everywhere in honor of Miss Jenkins. The next morning, a group of friends and I went out at 7 to put pink balloons all over Main Street. The entire street was lined with pink ribbons and balloons everywhere. Seeing the town all decked out in pink made me realize, possibly for the first time in my life, how amazing this community is. Not only did our entire school wear pink on Friday to honor Miss Jenkins and raise money for Ty, but there were businesses and schools all over the community that did the same. The fact that our town could rally together to support each other and honor someone who was such an important part of our school community was so incredible to me, and made me realize how much I truly love the town of St. Johnsbury. Sure, there isn't a lot to do here, and there aren't many people, and half the time it feels like I'm living in a ghost town. And sure, the weather is never great, and there isn't even a place for people to go shopping, other than the Green Mountain Mall, also known as the Green Mountain Small by some of the locals. But St. Johnsbury is still an incredible and inspiring place. I have fallen in love with this town and this community over the past couple of weeks for many reasons. Most notably, its ability to come together and act basically like a tightly knit family in times when people are feeling pretty lonely and unsure of the world. I have realized that I have been so lucky to grow up in this town, surrounded by people who genuinely care about each other and support the entire community. I've realized over the past years that I'm not going to have 17 little LaCroix running around my home, riding a roller coaster in my backyard, swimming in one of my 3 pools, or sliding down the swirly slide in the morning. And I've realized over the past 2 weeks that I would be incredibly lucky to live in a community like St. Johnsbury, Vermont for the rest of my life. Something I never expected to happen has happened in these past 2 weeks. I have truly fallen in love with this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Cullen.